Our Story, Part 12, The Men God Used. One of the things we were taught very early in ministry was a simple saying, healthy sheep beget healthy sheep. If the sheep are loved, cared for, taught well, and fed from the Word of God, then over time, the church becomes healthier. It is a lot like a garden. You plant the seed, you water it, you pull the weeds, you keep working the soil. Sometimes the ground is hard, and sometimes it takes longer than you hoped. But if you keep caring for it, life begins to grow. I always knew the church belonged to Jesus. He was the shepherd. I was only an under-shepherd. My job was to do the best I could to love the people, teach the Bible, and help them follow Jesus. So that is what I tried to do, slowly, simply, verse by verse, line by line. Not in a hurry, not trying to impress anyone, just opening the Word of God and trusting the Lord to feed His people. But I did not learn how to do that by myself. God gave me mentors. For reasons I still do not fully understand, there were men who liked me, took me in, and helped me. Sometimes I think they may have looked at me and thought, this guy is going to need some work. And they were right. I think of Pastor David Hawking, who pastored a large church in Southern California and taught on the radio all over the world. He came out once a year in those early days and helped me. He would listen to my messages, critique my teaching, and talk with us about practical ministry. He helped with things I would not have even thought about. How people came into the building, how the parking lot flowed, how visitors were greeted, how we cared for people, and even how Allison and I were doing in our marriage. He did not just come preach a message and leave. He helped us. I think of Pastor Raul Rees from Calvary Chapel Diamond Bar. Raul and his Bible college took us in and encouraged us. Raul once gave me cassette tapes of his messages through the Bible, and I ate those tapes up. Whatever book I was teaching, I wanted to hear how Raul had taught it. Not so I could copy him, but so I could learn. I was still trying to grow as a Bible teacher, and God used those tapes to help me. I think of Gail Irwin, who wrote The Jesus Style. That book helped shape my understanding of what it meant to follow Jesus and lead people with humility. Gail came out regularly and worked with us, encouraged us, and helped us keep our eyes on the heart of Jesus. I think of Terry Clark, who helped us in worship. I think of Bob Cull, who taught me a lesson I did not enjoy at the time but badly needed. One day, I was whining to Bob about some situation in the church. I do not remember all the details now, but I remember I was frustrated, hurt, and probably feeling sorry for myself. Bob listened for a while and then said, "The problem is, you're not dead." That made no sense to me. I said, "What do you mean I'm not dead?" He said, "It is hard to offend a dead man." Then he reminded me of what Paul said. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. Bob was teaching me that when I was easily offended, griping, angry, or wounded by every little thing, it was usually because I had not learned how to die to myself. That is not an easy lesson, but it is an important one. Ministry gives you many opportunities to be offended. People misunderstand you. They criticize you. They leave. They say things that hurt. Sometimes they are wrong, and sometimes they are right. But if I was going to shepherd people, I had to learn that the church was not about my ego. It was about Jesus. Bob helped me see that. I also think of Pastor Chuck Smith, who came to Salt Lake City and did a prophecy conference for us. That was a big event for our area, and it meant a lot to have him there. I think of Chuck Missler, who became almost like a father figure to me. He was available to talk, teach, encourage, and help me think. He was brilliant, but he was also kind. God used him in my life in deep ways. And then there was Zola Levitt. Zola and I became good friends. Now, toward the end, Zola and I got into an argument. Looking back, I can see that much of it was foolish on my part. I got upset, and I did not let him come back to the church. Not long after that, Zola passed away. That bothered me. A couple of years later, I was preparing a message and trying to find something Zola had said about the bride of Christ and the return of Jesus. I started looking through some of his writings, pamphlets, and newsletters. Then I found an article where Zola talked about his friend in Salt Lake City. He talked about how much he loved our church. He talked about how much he loved us. At first, I thought, well, that must have been written before our argument. Then I looked at the date. It was after. That hit me hard. In my mind, we had fallen out. In his heart, we were still friends. He had not held the grudge I was holding. That was humbling. I have often thought that when I get to heaven, one of the first things I want to do is find my friend Zola Levitt and apologize. Maybe by then, it will not matter the same way. Maybe in the presence of Jesus, all of that will already be swallowed up in grace. But it still matters to me. I say all of that because mentors matter. Encouragers matter. Older voices matter. People who will correct you, love you, challenge you, and still believe in you matter. I think of John Cowan, who was my pastor for a long time and a dear friend. I will talk more about him later. I think of Ronald Harding, who was always an encourager and someone I could call when I needed wisdom. And there were many others. I am leaving out names, not because they did not matter, but because there are too many to name in one short story. But I believe this with all my heart. The good part of the man I became in Jesus was shaped by the people God put around me. There was a bad part of me too. There still is. But whatever was good, whatever was useful, whatever helped others, much of it came because faithful men took time to speak into my life. They were patient with me. They corrected me. They encouraged me. They opened doors for me. They modeled things I needed to see. And now, looking back, my prayer is simple. Lord, help me do that for someone else. Help me encourage others the way they encouraged me. Help me be patient with younger men the way they were patient with me. Help me speak truth without crushing people. Help me love well. Help me point people to Jesus. Because healthy sheep really do help produce healthy sheep. And healthy shepherds are often made by other shepherds who were willing to walk beside them for a while.